Mind your statistical language, please. It is not correct to say accept a null hypothesis. It would be better to say do not reject the null hypothesis. If you are working at the 5% significance level and you have a p-value greater than 0.05, then you fail to reject the null hypothesis. Failing to reject a null hypothesis is not the same as accepting it. Appropriate statistical language can be difficult to understand, but there is good reason for it. If you do not reject the null hypothesis, it means that not enough evidence has been collected to reject the null hypothesis. But that does not mean that the null hypothesis is true. It could just be that the sample collected was not enough to reject the null hypothesis on this occasion. Your null hypothesis refers to the population. In your study, you have a sample, and you are using the sample to make inferences about the population. So there is a chance you may get it wrong. You will not know if your conclusion is wrong, but you could get an idea by collecting additional observations or looking at different studies. Of course, you will not always be able to do that, so you should acknowledge that any statistical conclusion you may make may be an error based on an unusual sample. In the case you reject the null hypothesis, you may have made a type 1 error, which is rejecting the null hypothesis when it is in fact true. In the case where you have failed to reject the null hypothesis, you may have made a type 2 error, which is failing to reject the null hypothesis when it is in fact false.